Like Chris, and I'm not even a fan of Chris Christie, but he was the
Sounds like a preacher now. Yeah. Calm down.
student council president in high school. So have you done anything of service besides yourself that has not?
I've always
so
been
like,
interested
well,
in
let's talk
healthcare.
about it. It's okay to talk about
Bethesda.
the
Let him answer the question.
small
I mean,
things. I think
these are
that
small
matters.
things, right? But thank you.
Oh, well, just let's just mention it just for
Bethesda
fun.
North Hospital.
What is wrong with this
No, it's not a
lady?
no.
Okay, friends, Vivek Ramaswamy made his way to the Breakfast Club, and this is what happened.
Tezlyn Figaro, I'm sure Tezlyn has some questions. Tez, you good?
Yes, I do. So I've heard a lot of, what you think and your vision, and I'm a very practical person, and I want to kind of oppose to talking about your opponents. Let's talk about you for a moment, and let's actually talk about your policy. Explain to me your position on this civic duty voting.
Sure. So my position is, I think that every kid who graduates from high school should know the minimums about the country that we require an immigrant to know about the country in order to become a citizen.
Okay.
So there's a test. My mom had to pass it. Every immigrant has to pass it to this country that asks you some basic questions. What are the three branches of government?
True.
What branch of government does the U.S. president lead? Some basic questions about what is the Bill of Rights. It's like a multiple choice exam, or some of them you write in. I think that if we're going to ask immigrants to pass that test, as we should, I think every 18-year-old who graduates from high school should have to pass that as well, because young people, it goes back to that issue of pride. You don't value a country that you don't know something about.
True.
You don't value something you inherit.
True.
You value something you have a stake in creating, in building, or knowing something about. So how do we think big about this? Well, young people, as I told you, most of them, very few of them vote, as it stands today. Super small numbers, and apparently 60% of them say they would rather give up their right to vote than give up TikTok.
Wow.
Well, I say, all right, let's take that to the next level. How about we do something that raises the voting age from 18 to 25, but you still get to vote at 18.
Okay.
If you just pass that same civics test that an immigrant has to pass in order to vote. And tests aren't for everybody, so be it. Then you at least serve in the military or a first responder role for 6 months.
Listen, that test he's talking about is the immigration test, the naturalization test. I myself went through it. For those of you who don't know, I was born and raised in Haiti. And in order for you to become an American, by naturalization, you need to go through this test. Actually, that test is amazing. I mean, the stuff you learn, the things that I've learned in that test, I don't think I've learned them in high school. Very few Americans knows these very basic things about their own country. I agree with that, and I think at a certain age, because people need to be informed. If you're going to vote for a particular candidate, you need to know what you're voting into power, because a lot of young people are voting by their emotions, right? They will hear things about pro-life or pro-choice, right? And for most young people are pro-choice because at this stage of your world, it's all about having fun and parties and so on. You're not really thinking about consequences of your actions. So if politicians can manipulate your emotion, they can get you to vote and make decisions, not based on values that are rooted in the Constitution, but rather than the way you feel. And I think the Democratic Party have learned how to do that very well. So to put a test together where people can use their minds and they can think and reason from cause to effect, I think it will definitely change the results of our voting system in a very positive way. And I think that could end up being a good thing. So I agree with Vivek right here.
That's my civic duty voting proposal. And the reason is, I'll actually make a prediction. I think youth voting in this country will skyrocket.
True.
From a very low level right now, it will skyrocket because you value something you actually have to earn.
True.
And I think that this is not a left-wing or right-wing point. We all have duties as citizens, right? We aspire to free market capitalism, right? Materialist advance. And that's the life I've lived as well, by the way. My parents came to this country with not a lot of money. I've lived the American dream. I've made a lot of money by building businesses. That's one side of what it means to be an American.
True.
But part of it is we also have duties to this country. And I think the more we wake that up, actually, the voting age only became 18 in 1971 in the context of the Vietnam draft. So I just think reviving those ideas is going to be good for us.
I think you're asking a lot. So let's prove your point. Nick, our camera guy, do you know the three branches of the
Nick
federal
is
government?
over 24, so it don't matter.
But I'm just saying, but nobody knows there are 24. Red, do you know the three branches?
Executive.
Well, I got a test. I got a
See what I'm
test.
saying?
I would like to see if you're willing to pass, because I believe in, just as you believe in civic engagement. I believe in changing the ideas of what political opponents look like, what they should look like, or political candidates. Are you willing to take a test with me quickly? Because I just have a couple of questions for you.
I will,
so
absolutely.
So
and the way this is opening up, I have a feeling I'm about to fail it, but that's good. Let's do it.
That's right, yeah. Just for clarity, I am an independent. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican.
Cool.
I think that's important for the premise of the argument, because I know you did a lot of debating at Harvard. I also want to make it clear that these are the same questions that I asked liberal Democrat Marianne Williamson. So I want to make sure that we put that out there as well, just to kind of set the foundation.
I'm
for the
open
test.
to being humbled. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Let's go. So you mentioned, the pride of being an American and how important it is to have pride in this country. I'm also a veteran, by the way, for the United States Air Force. Okay. So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
Wow.
So for how many years you sat around and did not get involved at all in any civic engagement? Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen, to whom
listen to the honesty of the man.
this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that.
That's
Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. So let's go deeper into the self-reflection.
Self-reflection.
So you've sat around for, and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can.
No, I don't like when they say stuff like that. Did you hear what she said?
So you've sat around for, and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can.
Oh boy, that's all right. This is your cue. If you this is your cue. That means when you hear a woman, I would say a black woman. I think most people, I mean, a lot of people say that, but when you hear women talk like this, right? You can be sure she's about to disrespect you. It's like, this is a flag. This is a red flag. I'm trying to be as respectful as I possibly can. That means I'm about to disrespect you as much as I can. That's kind of what she's saying.
Please don't take anything
and you don't even
way.
have to be. And you don't even have to be. So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years.
Your ancestors built this country?
Been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over as
black people, we gotta stop saying this. That's not. Don't get me wrong, man. Black Americans, especially during slavery, the work that we've put in at the fabric of this country cannot be overstated. However, we did not build the country. It's one thing to say you were part of the work, but it's another thing to say that we did the work. You know what I'm saying? That's like we're taking too much credit to ourselves. And my other question would be, what were the other people in the United States doing then? While blacks were slaves and picking cottons and working in the field and doing all manner of work, and which was wicked and evil. And I think if you study deeper, you will find out slavery left a serious dent in American economy. Until today, we're paying the price. But that's another discussion. But do you think white people were just sitting there on the beach having margaritas and just partying all day, all night? No. Actually, history shows they were working as well. They were building. The Industrial Revolution took place, and there were many other things happening, and many of them were inventors and so on. So this idea that black people build this country, your ancestors built this country, and everybody was just sitting there, that's lunacy.
Immigrants brought you over. You made millions, according to your...
He tells you how much she doesn't understand. He's running for president. You cannot run for president as an immigrant. The fact she ignored this massive evidence in front of her face, or she doesn't know it, it actually tells me maybe there's a lot more that she doesn't know. And no disrespect, but it's just that he's running for president. No immigrant can run for president. And you just say, you saying that he is an immigrant sitting in the country that your ancestors built. That is a racist statement. That is not true. That is disrespectful. Okay.
Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions.
Listen to this.
So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for
Crazy.
About 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your resume, off of this country, and you have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president or take any leadership role? Because your opponent did, Chris Christie. He was the class president. So
Yeah, I
have you
did.
ever
I mean,
taken any leadership at all on
I have,
anything, or just?
Can I just correct a couple factual things that are kind of important? My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was born in this country, and I'm proud of that.
No, I know you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You mentioned my
I'm
parents.
saying
No. You can't say now I know. No, that was not the claims you made earlier. It's okay. Be honest with yourself. You got it twisted. You got it wrong.
parents were immigrants.
You said-
My apologies.
That's all right. You
Good.
said your parents brought you over to this
Good.
country.
I
Yeah, my
apologize.
Set
apologies.
that record
I mean,
straight.
they were immigrants, but let's
They
not
were
go down the
immigrants.
water
Oh,
hole.
no. We're not going to water hole. I just want to correct a couple facts. And then the other thing is,
You were born here in Ohio.
I was
correct?
born in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's right.
Right. So
Yeah.
you've been here your entire life. So the question
That's
is,
right.
did you take any leadership role in middle school, high school, class president?
I did,
I know
yeah.
you played tennis. What is it? Explain it to us.
Student council. But I think that this is yes, I've held leadership roles over my life, but those don't qualify me to do what I'm doing
No,
now.
they don't.
That's
It kind of
just-
does.
Okay,
Well, it
well,
kind of does. Well,
No,
let me-
no, they don't. They don't mean anything to anybody. Who cares?
Well, I'm giving the test. I'm the test
Okay,
administrator.
all right, there you go.
So
Look at the arrogance of this woman. I'm giving the test, so I'm the tester, so therefore you need to bow down to me. Who does she think she is?
it kind of does, because when you go from saying I want to go to the highest office,
And I'll tell
of
you,
the land-
I've led companies as well. Is the other leader?
Right,
The
well,
main
right,
leadership
but-
role I've played is.
Oh,
is
there we go. A millionaire, 37 years old, did amazing job, led companies, but because he didn't he could not pass your supposed high school test, he's not good enough to be a president? What a ridiculous mindset.
And I want to talk about one early part of your premise that I also want to say, to bring it to the country point. The other point, you use the word sitting around.
No.
I'm not somebody who's saying I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did.
Yeah.
That being said, I wasn't sitting around.
Yeah.
I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today. One of which is a life-saving therapy in kids,
That's right.
20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated,
Yeah.
70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration.
Wow.
Another one for prostate cancer. So I don't
Well,
apologize
excuse
for
me,
making
sir.
contributions.
Wow.
But
Right. Well, I don't want you to filibuster that.
No worries.
Because
She said, oh my Lord. So he just gave you a resume of his duty and responsibilities and works that he's achieved. You said he's filibustering your questions. Wow, this woman is out of this world. Where did they get her from?
I don't apologize
excuse
for
me,
making
sir.
contributions. But
right. Well, I don't want you to filibuster that
No worries.
because
Just
that's
not
not
sitting-
the question that I asked. And I don't consider as a veteran, I'm talking about service. I'm not talking about what you
Civic
did for
service,
profit. I'm not talking about
Wait. I thought you wanted to change the way we do politics. You're talking about service? But the average politician goes to the same supposed test. They will pass with flying colors because the same going to the service, serving the army, and now they got into politics, and now they're running for office. That's the same criterion that we've been going through. That's not a new thing. She's not really creating a new way of doing politics. She's talking about the same old way of doing things. And this is why a lot of people today will rather vote for a Donald Trump and a Vivek Ramaswamy. Why? Because we are tired of the career politicians. They are the ones who are corrupting and destroying this country. They are the ones that are lying to people. Now, not all of them, praise the Lord, but most of them who've had the same supposed background and achievements, supposed actively engaged in civic duty and so on, when they get in office and power is given to them, and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts, absolutely, and they go on to do some very crazy things. They're the same ones that are telling you men can have babies today. They're the same one who tell you it's good to go to Ukraine and take taxpayer dollars and fund the war. Why? Because they think that's a good thing to do. This is the kind of people we're dealing with. But again and again and again, Let her keep going with her rhetoric.
Consider as a veteran, I'm talking about service. I'm not talking about what you
Civic
did for
service,
profit. I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with your
So I
company.
have
I'm
not
not talking
served-
about
I've not served the country
because that
in the way
means
you
nothing
have.
to me.
You do
what I'm
realize
talking,
she
what
hasn't
I
been
am
able to ask a question. She's been trying to
Go
ask
for
a
it,
question,
yeah.
and you've been talking over her.
I'm
and
all
you-
ears.
We gave you the platform to let you say
Seemed a
what
little
you said.
defensive.
I'm all ears. No, I was just correcting a couple
She hasn't had a chance
facts,
to
that's
ask a
all.
question yet. Every
Go
time
ahead,
she
Ted,
tries
ask
to
the
ask a
question.
question, you've been cutting her off. Go ahead,
I'm
Ted.
all ears.
Right. So your question, so my question again is, you're trying to, your goal is to raise the standard, and you're saying you want people to believe in country and you want people to have civic engagement. And sir, I just find it very telling that you haven't had any civic engagement at all and haven't been at all. And when I say sit around, I don't mean you haven't done anything. I'm talking about in regards to service, because one thing about political office, the same way you want to.
Wait. So him creating medicines is not considered service. Him making millions of dollars and saving the lives of people who had cancer and many other illnesses, that's not considered human service enough for her? Wow, what a thinking.
Change how people look at politics and look at this country. I want to change how people look at politicians. And when I see that
But you're not really changing anything. You're just bringing the old standard. All you're doing is modify the old standard. This is not a new standard you're raising up. I mean, I can understand the motive of the question that she's asking, but the questions themselves are they're incoherent. Can I say this without being mean? They are stupid questions. Like they're dumb.
someone hasn't did anything at all to be of service to mankind, to take a leadership role. It's not good enough to just be on city student council. Were you a leader? All of that applies. Have you been able to get anybody in the room at any time, from a high school gymnasium to Ohio, Republican leadership there
Seriously.
to now? Have you been able to get anybody in a room to believe in this vision? I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been
There
going
we go.
around having these discussions.
This is the truth. You just don't like and you don't agree with him. First of all, he's a conservative. Even though you're not a Democrat, you're an independent, but you have a democratic thinking. And you just don't like the man's vision. You don't like the man. You don't like what he stands for. And I think right now she's being honest.
And getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision and debate.
There
But
we
I want
go.
to get
She's being honest right now. She's going after him. She's saying he's emotionally wrapped up. When you listen carefully, their true colors start showing. She's showing her true colors. She's telling you, I don't like you. Okay, I don't like what you stand for. You're emotionally getting people wrapped up. I don't like your visions. And that's the fact. And so everything else she was saying were nothing but a cover-up. It was all a charade, because behind the scenes, she's hiding her true emotions. She just can't stand Vivek Ramaswamy and I would say any Republicans for their visions, because they do not line up with her own.
to believe in this vision. I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been going around having these discussions and getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision
Wow.
and debate. But I want to get to the practical. You're trying to go from preschool to president of the United States. You're skipping over city council, county council, mayor, governor. You want to go straight to the top.
That's the problem with career politicians. This is what they all have the same background and achievements. And they are the ones doing all kind of corruption in their position. So what kind of standard are you building, really? You're not building a new standard. You just want the same old standard that career politicians been through. And when they get in office, it's almost like all their supposed civil duty didn't really make a difference, because once they get in there, they start acting up. I don't have to start saying names. They start propaganda. Let's leave that matter alone. And this is why Trump, like people like Trump, would win for president. You know, because he didn't have that rap sheet. He was a businessman, and he got in this thing and he changed the system around. Vivek Ramaswamy could be a good pick. Now, let me tell you something. If it wasn't for Trump, I probably would vote for this man, because I really like him. But she's not saying anything new. She's just saying something old, and she's just rebranding it.
So my question is this a PR? Is this for the PR, the perception of reality? Or can you point to any leadership where you've been able to get people to believe in what you're talking about that they're not paid to do on any of these vision statements that you have? If not, then to me, it's a moot point, because you're holding a standard that you haven't met yourself.
Wow.
So if you're only
disrespect.
going to count government service, you're
No,
absolutely
not government
right.
service.
Okay.
Student council in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th. Were you a leader? Did you do anything to rally?
He's a businessman who invented medicines that are still out there today. He sold his business. He's a millionaire at the age of 37. You bypass all that reality and you're going after 8th grade. Woman, what is wrong with you? Why are you so disrespectful? Why are you so sad?
Rally anybody? Did you fight for better lunch? I did in the 6th grade
Better
with Miss
lunch?
Harris.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about government. I can go all the way back from the 5th grade every year, sir, because people who are
She said better lunch. I'm so done.
in service to this country, if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to go around saying you want people to believe in this country that I signed up to die for, then I want to make sure that you're holding
It's
that
like,
same standard.
listen, man, I have a lot of respect for veterans, people who serve this country, and I speak about them in this channel. We don't give them enough respect. But at the same time, serving in the military is not a badge of honor that could be used as a mean to disrespect somebody else. She's using her, look at the facial expression. She's using her service in the military as her right to say what she say and creating new standard, even to disrespect the men. And I think that's not okay to do. That's not what it means to be a soldier either. True soldiers who served in this country will have enough respect for people and understand fighting for the value of all Americans, even the ones that might not align with yours. So, yeah, serving in the military here is not an excuse for your mannerism.
Standard. So not government, not political. Let's not get it confused. I'm saying, have you did anything of service
Have you
that we
did?
can point to say he is a good leader? Like Chris, and I'm not even a fan of Chris Christie, but he was the
Sounds like a preacher now. Yeah. Calm down.
student council president in high school. So have you done anything of service besides yourself that has not benefited yourself? It's just a simple question.
No, it's not.
So the acts of service that I have performed are small, so small that I don't even want to talk about them to boast. But yes, have I volunteered for this country? Yes, I have.
I mean, he's so nice that he's still putting up with her. Most people will just walk out. Like, why are you still listening to this lady? She's so rude and disrespectful. But again, Vivek Ramaswamy is just such a nice guy that he will allow her to embarrass herself publicly like this.
I've always
So
been
like,
interested
well,
in
let's talk
healthcare.
about it. It's okay to talk about
Bethesda
this.
Let him answer the question.
Small
I mean,
things. I think
these are
that
small
matters.
things, right? But thank you.
No, well, just let's just mention it. just for
Bethesda
fun.
North Hospital.
What is wrong with this
No, it's not a
lady?
no. It's just something I don't like boasting about. I
Well,
volunteered.
we're not boasting.
Yeah.
It's an
Not
interview.
boasting.
You're
There we go.
boasting on your vision and
Look,
everything else.
I think
you
one of the
boasted on
things-
the millions of dollars that you made. So let's just throw it out. So in
I
6th
actually
grade, I'll give
didn't.
you an
She
example.
thinks she got him. Gotcha. This is a gotcha moment. No, you're making yourself look bad.
I'll help you out. In 6th grade, Miss Harris, Miss Harris was slapped. Let me give you an example because maybe you're confused. In the 6th grade, Miss Harris was snatched.
You talk too much. Ask one question at a time. Why do you need to tell a whole story in order for you to formulate a question? That is completely unnecessary. What's wrong with these women? I don't want to go after skin color, but some black women, y'all need to calm down. Y'all talk too much. I'm serious, and I'll say this. Talk too much. Say less.
Snatching papers from everybody in the classroom. So me as a 10-year-old, I went to the principal and said, I'm tired of Miss Harris snatching papers. And I organized the students around getting Miss Harris to stop snatching papers. Now, there was a consequence for that. I got suspended for 5 days for talking back, and I got in trouble. I got a spanking, and I was on punishment for months and months. But that is a simple way of organizing people. So I want you to kind of boast about it the way you did the millions of dollars and said what you did with the pharmaceutical companies. What leadership can you point to that you've been able to rally anybody around anything that is of service that you did not pay anybody to do? I think that's important for the next president.
This is why she's being roasted over the internet right now. Everybody's making videos about her and Vivek Ramaswamy's way of handling her. This is why.
Sure. So I've always been drawn to healthcare. That's why I ended up founding companies in that space. When I was in high school, part of what drew me into it was that I was a volunteer at a local hospital. I actually became the leader of that group of volunteers that actually discharged women who had recently given birth. That was it.
Isn't that good enough for you?
Nothing big to it.
Did you do anything we can point to stand out?
But I want to say something about that because I say that in the book. If I'm being really honest, why did I do that in high school? A part of the motivation, I'll be just brutally honest with you, was part of the motivation was that's actually what allows you to get into a good college.
Wow, he is too honest.
When you graduate, is
Right,
you want to
so
check
it was
the box
about-
of
so
community
it was
service.
about you.
So
So
there
it
was
was
an
about
element. So
self.
there's
See, there is a difference between being selfish and being self-interest. All right. It's like you can do something in the hope that you benefit from it. in the long way. That doesn't mean it's wrong altogether. But this one angry woman.
And I'm admitting that in a way that very few other people do, but I got to be honest about it. That was a big part of why I did it.
Yeah, it was about self, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to give it back to the guys. I'm going to be honest about it with you.
Yep.
Leadership is not about self.
I agree with you on that.
What I just heard is that everything is about you. And to be honest with you, this is just a PR campaign, sir. To be honest with you, and I think you're trying to go further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color.
Look at that racism. You showing your true color again.
You're trying to go further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color.
Are you serious? You know how many blacks and different... You see, they need to stop making Republicanism the party... I mean, not Republicanism. The Republican or conservative party, the party. You need to stop saying that. It's not the party of racism. It never was. And different people of different skin color, ethnicity, and understanding and values or joining and following and believing in the values of this country is bigger than politics for them. So her statement tells you everything she was thinking. She just have a problem with the fact this man is a dark skin color, even though he's not. I mean, he's not African American. He's somewhat Hindu or Indian of some sort, right? But that doesn't mean he is altogether supposed racist. But again, for these people, it will never be good enough because they're always looking for racism where it doesn't exist. And the real racist in the room right now is this woman. That is crazy. She makes herself look bad.
And I think the only way you think you can do that is
listen to her statement again.
PR campaign, sir, to be honest with you. And I think you're trying to go further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color. And I think the only way you think you can do that is to be so extreme.
I appreciate your opinion.
With your positions. And I think you need to do a little bit more work in service. I'll give it back to you guys. You failed the test, by the way.
Because she did ask me a question.
You failed the test.
And then you guys said you
what test?
I hear a response, but I think I heard an expression of opinion. So I just want to make sure you're all done before I respond to it.
No, just wanting to say that even then, I would still want you to point out, even at the hospital, something that you did that made you stand out on when actually taking a leadership role. But you already answered it. You said you did it because it was a motivation to get in college.
Exactly.
Which means it was
I'm being
about
very
you.
honest about that. But
everything has been about you. So as a veteran,
let me tell you something. I appreciate.
Who is her husband? He must be a miserable man.
Very hard for me to follow leaders that make everything about them. So you might want to work on that because it's a lot of veterans and Republicans. So you might want to work on that talking point and maybe do some volunteering while you're on the campaign trail. I'm going to give it back to Charlamagne and Envy.
Yeah, I want to be respectful. Want to make sure you got everything you wanted to on the table before I respond to that.
If this was just us, it would be a lot more.
You guys tell me. I'm the guest on your show. You tell me when.
First of all, I thank the Breakfast Club for allowing a Republican person to be at the show and at least showing a decent a willingness, an open door to allow him to speak. That's great. But the level of disrespect that's going on here is not so great.
When I'm good to speak.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
You sure? Mm-hmm. You sure about that? If we're good.
Yeah, we're sure.
So I think there's a different worldview that we have. And I think the worldview is how one actually makes contributions in a country. I do not believe that there's a separate category of just if you're serving the country and then if you're acting in self-interest, that's somehow sinful or wrong.
True.
I reject that vision. To the contrary, I think capitalism is the best system known to man to lift people up from poverty.
Amen.
I deeply respect and I thank you for your service to this country. I'm grateful for it. I haven't served the country in the way that you have. But I think that the way you get ahead in capitalism, how did I develop a multi-billion-dollar biotech company? It was by developing medicines that save people's lives.
A lot of people say capitalism causes poverty.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that.
It's not a perfect system, but if you were to go with socialism, yeah, you would run for the hills.
I think that capitalism demands that you provide something to someone that helps them more than you're actually charging them for it.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
That's
the
a
tried and
business
true
model,
way for you
sir.
to-
That's
It
not
is a business
service.
model. It's not, I'm not
That's
saying
not
it's,
service.
He's talking about capitalism. Girl, calm down. Let the man speak.
I'm saying it's
But
having
see,
an impact on
an
society.
elected official is service.
I want to hear what he has to say. You talk too much.
That's the disconnect.
That's right. So
that you're
now,
missing that they didn't teach
I'm moving on to there are phases of our lives where we do different things.
Well, you're moving straight all the way up to president
Oh my goodness. Be quiet.
of the United States.
You know, I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't believe in hierarchies. The hierarchy is the way the bureaucracy.
Oh my Lord. She needs to stop.
democracy works. I don't believe in so we have a difference in opinion.
You also don't believe in service.
You see, I don't understand. How come nobody's telling her to be quiet? He's trying to answer a single question. This was wild, I think. All right. As for Vivek Ramaswamy in this discussion, for, what's her name? Figaro something, her name is? Utterly unnecessary. She didn't have to be this rude and disrespectful to get her point across. Anyway, friends, thank you for listening. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. This was great. But answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. Another one is in 26:5. It says, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. There are times you just need to ignore some people because it's never good enough, no matter what you tell them. But, I mean, Vivek Ramaswamy was so nice that I thought he was too nice, that he put up with so much of this. And I think that's great. He handled himself really, really well. But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts. Be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Boom. So there you have it right there. So God is telling you that the Lord must be sanctified in our hearts. And we must be ready to give an answer to every man that asketh you of the reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Praise the Lord for that. And I'm forever grateful to know that not only you ought to know what you believe, why you believe it, and where it is found. This is not only spiritual, it's also political as well. You can use this in a political sense. Vivek Ramaswamy was ready. I mean, she was trying to get him as much as she could, but she really made herself look bad. She embarrassed herself. Anyway, friends, like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more. I'm going to put a link in the description below to the original video. Make sure you go and check it out as well. Give them some godly respect and credit for the work that they've done. Yeah. Wow, I can't believe I get through this. I was getting mad. I was getting frustrated. I was getting sad. I'm like, the level of disrespect that was going on here was utterly unnecessary. Anyway, friends, see you in the next video. Set your eyes on him who is the author and the finisher of our faith. Have a good one. Bye.